Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about validating ourselves. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is something that we just need to think about. And thankfully for me, I have a special guest here, Kim, who's going to help us really think about this because this is a thinker. And when you think along with other people, it really puts it into perspective. So, with that being said, Kim, thank you so much for coming on to my show and sharing your time and your perspective with me. Let's go ahead and dive right in. When you hear the words validating ourselves or just the word validating, what does that make you think about?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me on your show. I'm super excited to be here. But I would say the old me, when I would hear the word validation, it would mean that I needed someone else's approval.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the new me, the new version of myself is someone who says that external validation is just an added bonus.
Okay, I like that. It is an added bonus.
Yes.
Oh, it is such a great way to think about it because, we do seek validation all the time. We see it in social media, we see it when people post, we see it all the time with our parents, with family, with culture, with religion. I mean, there's so many reasons you can fill in the blank, you know what I mean? For each individual, you can fill in the blank to what you seek validation. But when it starts to seeking validation within yourself, how do you necessarily start, Kim?
Yeah, so, and I think it's human nature to be validated because we want to know that we belong to a group. We want that connection with other humans. So it's not that external validation is bad. I'll say it becomes unserving when we seek that over being able to do it for ourselves. And
Hmm.
when we need someone else to do it for us is where it really puts us in this position where we're losing our power. And so when we start learning how to do self-validation, it comes down to the four emotional needs that we have. And so I didn't create these needs. Tony Robbins created these needs, and I know that there's some controversy around him, but learning about these needs was such a massive game changer for me in my own journey because I was like, oh my gosh, why didn't I know about these things 20 years ago? I wouldn't have ended up in some bad situations because I would
Oh
have
my
been able
goodness.
to figure it, to say like, Kim, you're great, you're worthy, you're all these things without needing someone
Yes,
else to do it, especially in
absolutely.
high school. And so there are four needs, and we need them like air, food, water, sleep. And when my oldest daughter was little, she was like, will you die if you don't get those things met? And I was like, no, honey, you'll just be really unhappy.
Oh, but technically saying that's true though. Technically saying she's not wrong to see it in that way because we kind of do die inside where
Yes.
we're just like that part of us, that flame that makes us unique, that personality. You know what I mean? That's inside of us is just when that dims. I
Yeah.
mean, you kind of die inside where you're just like you're complacent with the world. You're just in regular motion. And it's
Yes.
so sad because so many people do live their lives in this way. So when did you realize it for yourself that you needed to start validating yourself?
Yeah. So and I'll go back to how to do it because I didn't
Oh,
touch
I
on that.
apologize.
No, you're fine. You're fine. But it's funny now because she's a teenager and I'm like, it's because of the emotional need. She's like, oh my God, I don't want to hear it. And so, or she's like, I know, it's about the needs. So I'm like, okay, good. I've done my job. They're planted in her brain somewhere in there.
Right.
But so it started on my journey when I left my teaching career. I was having an identity crisis because if I wasn't a kindergarten teacher, like who in the heck was I? And I was struggling with being a stay-at-home mom because that wasn't the vision I had for myself. But then I felt guilty and shame
Yeah.
for not loving being a stay-at-home mom. And so I decided that I probably needed to go talk to a therapist and not knocking therapy, but did that and just had more labels thrown at me with really no
Yeah.
solution except to take medication. And so I kind of got to
Okay.
this point where I was like, someone had said, try NLP. And the lady who I found wanted $10,000. And I was like, oh God, I don't have $10,000 for NLP coaching. And for anyone who doesn't know, NLP is
Yeah.
neuro-linguistic programming. So you
Mhm.
basically reframe the language that you use around trauma or negative experiences that you've had. So I was like,
Okay.
$10,000. Geez, Louiso, like I don't have that. Um,
Yeah.
So I knew of a life coach friend through another friend and said, is like coaching really 10 grand? And she was like, no, but I had the coach I work with has this workshop coming up. You should totally come. It's way, way cheaper. And I was like, okay. I can do that. So it was in that workshop where they started teaching us about the emotional needs, and it was just like mind blown, eyes wide open. I was like, oh my gosh, I ended up in that abusive high school relationship with a high school boyfriend because I didn't feel love and connection at home. Oh my God. If I had been
Mm.
able to like stay connected and have self-love, I wouldn't have needed this awful relationship for 5.5 years to make me feel that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I wanted to feel like I mattered, and that's the need of significance. So the four needs are love and connection, they go together,
Okay.
significance, and then certainty and uncertainty. So certainty is just another way of saying safety and comfort, and then
Hmm.
uncertainty is another way to say variety. And so I was using this unhealthy relationship to have all of those needs met, but it was so unserving because I wasn't growing and I wasn't contributing during that time. And so that's kind of
Yeah.
the checker, the little fact checker is like if you're growing and contributing, then your needs are being met in a serving way.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that was when I had that initial wake up call. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I get it now why I was miserable in my teaching career. I didn't feel connection. I didn't feel like I
Yeah.
mattered. It was too much uncertainty, not enough certainty.
Yeah.
So I could sit there and pick apart why I was struggling in all of these different areas of my life. And it was the same thing with being a
Absolutely.
stay-at-home mom. And so that was like, oh my gosh, it was just such a mind-blowing moment where I was like, everybody needs to know about the emotional needs. Everybody.
Yes. Nobody left behind. You sir back there. Come here. You need to learn about it. Oh, that's so great. So you can go back and tell us about how to start implementing in your life because I really do love your story and it really does resonate with myself and so many others that are listening. So please continue. I don't want to interrupt
No, you're
again.
fine. You're totally fine. So I had to start figuring out how to give myself certainty. I had to figure out how to make myself feel safe and
Yeah.
comfortable. And
Hmm.
so what I had done was I had been in this trap of looking for other people to do it for me. So at this point,
Correct.
I'm married with two kids. My marriage was a healthy marriage, like healthy relationship. And my husband at one point was like, I don't even know what you want from me, and you don't even know what you want from you. And I was like, ah, rude, but you're right. And so I was like, gosh, you big jerk. Like, figure
How
it
dare
out,
you know me?
right? So I
Oh,
was just,
that's so funny.
ah. So I had to start spending time with myself, as silly as that sounds. I had to start figuring out what did I like? What made me feel good? What made me feel like self-care? What made me feel refreshed when I felt like I was at my
Hmm.
wit's end? All of these things. And I had to just start doing self-exploration. And with the safety and comfort because I had that domestic violence trauma and I had childhood trauma. I started really getting into the chakras, which is this is like a little maybe out there for some listeners, but like your root chakra is all about safety and comfort. So I started doing root chakra things, and the color for the root chakra is red. And so like this sounds silly, but like meditating with a red candle and wearing red nail polish, just like seeing the color red and reminding myself that I am safe. There's no danger. I'm not in this relationship that's volatile. I'm there, no emotional neglect is happening. And so really was that. And I had to figure out how to make myself matter. So I wanted to, how could Kim make Kim feel significant? Because at the end of the day, I wanted my husband to come home from work and be like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. You cleaned the house today and you fed the kids and kept them alive and the animals have been taken out and blah, blah, blah. Like, no.
Hmm.
Like, so I had to do that for myself. Like, great job today, Kim. You had 5 things on your to-do list and you checked them all off and you did it with a smile on your face. So it sounds so silly, but it was really just about me taking back my power and stop waiting
Yeah.
for someone else to say, "Atta girl, good job, Kim. You did it for yourself," and really just getting into that routine of not looking for other people to say, like, you're amazing, but to find the reasons in myself that I was amazing and actually believe them.
Absolutely. I love that. I love how you just shared that part of you that is just so completely raw. You know what I mean? Because it's your testimony, and I think so many people need to hear it because when I was listening to you, I was just like it just it it just makes me realize that I had to do the same thing. You know what I mean? Because I didn't realize that you get validation constantly in school, get validation in so many areas at work, and it just in groups. Like if you're part of a community or a part of a whatever type of group you put yourself in, and you are always getting it there, but you never really validate yourself. So when you're actually in this season in your life, like being a stay-at-home mom, where you don't have an audience, you don't have people you're interacting in the day-to-day basis, you don't have anybody really there besides your child, and they're just looking at you like, okay, it's us. And I'm just looking at you back like, okay, it's us, but you still have these obligations and responsibilities that you still have to do. And it's like you have to give yourself those little goals and the little accomplishments and validate them because they matter. Nobody else may not see them, but you see them. And then if you have a relationship with relationship or a relationship with God, then it even shows that more that you can say that, you know what, at least if nobody else seen it today, then God's seen it today, and that's all that matters, you know? So and if you put it in that perspective as well, it allows you to know that what you do in life does not go unseen. And it brings you a sense of peace because you know what, it doesn't matter what my husband doesn't see or what he chooses to pick on despite what I've done. It matters
Yeah.
what I know what I've done because it was on my to-do list or it was on my heart that I needed to get done overall, you know, because later on people realize like you are the reason why your house is standing. You are the reason why you are standing. You are the reason why that you are functional. Because I had people like come to me and say, you know what, out of everyone in your family, you're the closest thing to normal. So it's just like if that's the case, then you're not doing such a bad life by
Yeah.
just acknowledging what you've done, and it comes with that training, it comes with that, you know, that constant repetitive because to for this it's like a daily thing, you know what I mean? It's not
Yes.
like a one done, oh, I did it for the week, I'm good. No, because those intrusive thoughts come in, you know what I mean? Those negative Nancy words, those backflash of the memories of the shame and the guilt, they come in too, you know. So it's a constant healing process. So once you find that self-discovery and you start that self-care. When you said that self-care, I was just like, yes, girl. I had to learn to realize that self-care is a real thing, even if that means taking a shower, because especially after having my boys back to back, it was really hard for me to figure out my own self-care routine, and I was just getting angry at, like, everybody and everything, like, nothing like, oh, I just couldn't tolerate no one, and it was deep down inside is because I couldn't tolerate myself, and
Yeah.
all I wanted to do was really just shower and just, refresh myself, but it just I couldn't think about it until one day my husband was just like, "Mitzi, shut up, leave everything here and just go upstairs, just do whatever you gotta do," and I was just
Yeah.
like, "Okay," and I gave myself a whole hour, and it was just the most refreshing thing ever, and ever since then, I realized even if it's a shower, I owe it to myself, and it's like we owe it to ourselves, you know what I mean? To start loving ourselves the way that we never felt love, start trusting ourselves the way that we never felt trust. Oh my goodness, it makes my throat, like, swell because it's so true, because it's something that I'm still working on, because I think this is something that we're all still working on. We all have trauma, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? We all have that pain that just lingers, and it's like it's just like one of those buoys that's in the water that's just there floating, like, "I'm here, just letting you know that I'm still here. I ain't going anywhere, I'm just bobbing around." Like, that's how I feel like trauma is in the back of your mind, like, it's still gonna be there, but it's your fault. It's your choice to go towards it, or it's your choice to allow it to be your main focus, you know what I mean? With so much other things to focus on or so much other things to pay attention to in this life, why focus just on that, you know? So it's just
Yeah.
like taking that power back on your mind and your thoughts and your words and your actions and having that intentional momentum is truly, truly a beautiful thing. And I have to ask you, what can be some lasting words of wisdom that you can leave us off with?
Yes. So I think a lot of people, it's an overwhelming thing for them to figure out like, oh my God, where do I even start with that? Because it's not
Yeah,
a normal thing for us to do. And so I always say just start small and start with the thing that feels the easiest.
yeah.
Don't overthink it. Because when you start overthinking, you get into the analysis paralysis that it will never happen, and then you feel worse because then you are telling yourself you matter for the wrong reasons. You're giving yourself that negative significance.
Yes.
Like, the meme things like you're such an idiot. Like this isn't hard. Why can't you do this? Look at again.
Yeah.
You messed up something else. And so don't try to go for like the home run right away.
Yeah.
Like do something small. Even if so for me when my girls were little, for me it was like giving myself that notion of like you matter, you are significant, and then connecting with self. It sounds silly, but it was going to get my nails done. Like I just when I walked out of the nail place, I was like, I got to pick my color, I got to sit and chat with someone who was an adult, or I got to
Yes.
zone out on my phone and do absolutely nothing. And so that for me, I did it every other week. It was just a mani. It was nothing huge, but that for me was like the first thing that I did because it made me feel alive. It made me feel like a normal
Yeah.
adult to be able to leave the house with husband and kids there
Yeah.
and me go out and do something alone by myself without anybody in tow saying like, I want this or I need that and da 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 da. Da.
Yeah.
So it just really start with something small. And it could even be something so small of like connecting with yourself and showing yourself that you matter and knowing that you're safe by like making a smoothie for breakfast instead of like having Cocoa Puffs. Like, it really doesn't have to be so big. But
Yeah.
when you try it and it doesn't feel like it's the right option, just be open to trying something else. So like also like when you start small, you also have to stay curious because you're not going to
Yeah.
find the perfect recipe for self-validation after the first try. It is going to take trial and error.
Yes, there you go. See, ladies and gentlemen, you have to have that trial and error because it's there's a lesson behind knowing what doesn't work. So it's like, okay, it doesn't work for me, but that now I know. Now I know. Now you have the experience, you have the knowledge, you have the wisdom, but you have to at least do it for yourself. Thank you so much, Kim, for coming on my show
Thank you
and
so much.
sharing with me your thoughts about validating ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to know more about Kim and what she has to offer the world, please check her out on my website. Just bloop right there, and you can find all the goodness that she has to offer the world. And plus, there's so much content that she can help you keep on thinking. So, with that being said, bye.